press conference with the National Transportation Safety Board talking about the deadly Metro smoke incident. Let's listen in.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. I'm Christopher Hart, the acting chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board, and I'm here tonight to talk about the January 12th Metro accident near LaFont Plaza Station in terms of what our role is and what we have discovered so far. I'd like to start by expressing my condolences to the family of the woman who lost her life and offer wishes for a speedy recovery to those who were injured. The NTSB investigates accidents. Congress created us to investigate all transportation accidents in any mode. You most often see us in aviation, but we investigate derailments, we investigate cruise ship accidents, major highway accidents, mass transit accidents, and anything that moves. Congress has said if something goes wrong, that's our job to figure out what happened. When we do that, our job is to find prevention, not to find basis of punishment. So we do not determine blame or liability. We determine what went wrong and then make recommendations to try to prevent that from happening again. So here's what we know so far. Much of this is from the preliminary report that we issued a few days ago, and I'll just repeat some of that before I go into some of the more recent facts that we've discovered. On Monday, January 12th, Metro experienced an electrical arcing event in the yellow line just south of the LaFont Plaza Station. Train 302 had left the station traveling south and stopped at about 3:15 because of the heavy smoke it encountered in the tunnel. When it came to a stop, the rear of the train was about 386 feet from the station platform, so it was less than one full train length away from the station platform. The smoke continued traveling through the tunnel to the LaFont Metro Station, where train 510 had completely entered the station and stopped about 100 feet from the south end of that station. Because of the smoke, the station and train 510 were evacuated. On train 302, some passengers remained on the train and some self-evacuated, walking both back to the LaFont Plaza Station and some towards the Potomac River Bridge. The power to the third rail on train 302 was cut off at about 3:50 p.m. The Metro Station has ventilation fans at strategic locations in the system that supply fresh air and draw air out. These systems were used the day of the event, but we have tested the ventilation system and noted some anomalies that will require further testing. We were unable to exactly duplicate the ventilation fan configuration during the incident, so we will need future functional testing to learn more about that. We've also obtained about 100 WMATA security videos, which are being reviewed for relevant information and cataloged. Also, the investigation provides us an opportunity to examine to what extent has WMATA implemented the recommendations that we made from the 2009 Fort Totten accident. One of the things we'll be looking at is aging infrastructure. In this business, they call it the state of good repair. And we'll be looking at to what extent was aging infrastructure a problem. We know that there was an arc. What we don't know is why was there an arc. In our investigation, we formed groups to look at various issues. We have an operations group, survival factors group, fire science, track, mechanical, recorders, and civil engineering infrastructure. In order to help us populate those groups, we have parties to the investigation who provide technical information to help us ascertain the facts of the investigation. So the parties to this investigation are WMATA itself, the Tri-State Oversight Committee, the D.C. Fire and EMS Department, the Metropolitan Police, D.C. Metropolitan Police, International Association of Firefighters, Local 36, Amalgamated Transit Union Local 689, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the Federal Transit Administration. The Federal Transit Administration has recently obtained the legislative authority to have safety regulation over mass transit, and they are in the process of implementing that as we speak. So let me talk briefly about some of the new items we have picked up in the investigation thus far. Our team arrived on site the evening of the incident, which is January 12th, and measured the location of the trains in relation to the arcing event. We made a preliminary examination of train 302 and the arc damage, as well as the egress paths of the passengers who self-evacuated and the passengers who were helped with evacuation, some forward and some aft, about the 300 to 400 feet back to the station, back to the LaFont Plaza station. Since that time, we have had daily meetings with the parties to manage the investigation, and we released the track to WMATA in the early morning hours of January 13 so they could continue normal operations after the incident. Both of the trains were moved to yards, and NTSB has inspected the two trains inside and out, as well as a third train that preceded train 302 through the area. We've conducted dozens of interviews with WMATA personnel. WMATA has been cooperating very extensively with us because they too want to know what went wrong. We have since made several site visits to further document the conditions of the arcing location. The damaged cables and the cover board over the third track are in our lab and are presently being examined. Molten metal and water samples have been collected and are being analyzed by our lab as well. We've begun reviewing recorded data from multiple sources. We have data from the train, from the signal system, the electrical system, from the central dispatch center. We have data from quite a few sources. We've conducted a preliminary functional test of the ventilation system, and that's what I was saying. We were having trouble replicating the configuration of that day, so we need more testing on that. Our teams are looking into the configuration of the ventilation fans to document the airflow and movement of smoke in the incident area at the time. As I mentioned, we received video from about 100 cameras that is being viewed for relevance. Video data will be coordinated with other information to help us develop a detailed timeline. We will be reviewing recorded radio and telephone communications from the WMATA Operations Control Center, and we have received emergency response documentation from DC Fire and EMS. We have also received some 3,800 pages of documentation thus far from WMATA, including procedures, maintenance records, drawings, and logs. We will be scheduling additional interviews with firefighters, passengers, and WMATA personnel. The issues that we're looking at so far, and we may develop further issues in the course of the investigation: the ventilation system, the response, the evacuation, the system's maintenance, the operation of the train, and the training and emergency exercises conducted by WMATA to train their operators how to respond to emergencies like this. We anticipate that we would like to complete this investigation within the course of a year, but we understand that if there are urgent issues that need immediate attention, we will not wait until the completion of the investigation to issue recommendations. Instead, we would issue recommendations immediately. And WMATA, as a party, has already discovered several items that they feel, based on our investigation thus far, needs fixing, and are working on them as well. We may, in the near future, hold an investigative hearing regarding this. It would be a public hearing in which the parties can ask each other questions to help us find out more information about the events that occurred. That's where we are so far today. As I said, this is all about facts. I'm not offering any answers about analysis. If you have any questions about the facts or about the process, I'd be happy to take those. Yes, please.
You mentioned that there was some sort of anomaly with the ventilation system. Could you explain what that anomaly was?
The question is, could I explain what the anomaly is I was referring to in the ventilation system? Unfortunately, I don't have details at this point as to what that anomaly is. I'm just told that it wasn't behaving the way that was anticipated. Yes, please.
Hi, sir. Martin DeCaro at WAMU 88.5 in D.C. Member of Congress before said smoke was being sucked into the trains. Can you tell us more about that, what precisely he may have been discussing? Because he came right out of the briefing and he said that as well.
The question is, was smoke being sucked into the trains? I mentioned about ventilation fans. The ventilation fan I was talking about was the ventilation fan in the ventilation shaft to the outside. Those are the fans I was talking about. We are doing further investigation regarding the fans in the train. I don't have a good answer for you at this point. That's one of the things we're looking at, is what was happening to the fans in the train regarding, was it bringing smoke in, exiting smoke? We don't know that yet.
So he's referring to train fans, not outside ventilation?
Correct. He's referring to train fans. Yes, please.
Yes, I'm Silverberg, USA 9. Could you talk a little about the radio system? We've heard numerous stories about communication problems between the DC Fire Department and Metro. What have you learned about that?
We're investigating that. We don't have any conclusions on that yet, but that's one of the issues that we're looking at, is the ability to communicate.
What was there a delay in communication?
That's what we're looking at. That's what our investigation is looking at. I forgot to repeat the question. He was asking about the radio system and the ability to communicate. Yes, please.
With the Associated Press, there are reports that the driver of the second train that arrived at L'Enfant Plaza abandoned the train. Can you comment at all on those or confirm those reports?
The question is, there were reports that the driver of the second train abandoned the train. That will be part of our WMATA interviews to determine what happened to the driver of the second train. Yes, please.
Adam Suss with the WRC-TV. You mentioned that Metro has identified things that they're already fixing. What are those things?
The question is about Metro has identified things that they are already fixing. There is a list of several items that they have discovered in the course of this investigation that need to be improved. I can't recite the list chapter and verse, but they have. That's one of the advantages of being a party is when they see things that aren't as they should be. They're right there up front and personal, so they can fix them right away.
What's on the top of the list?
I don't remember what's on the list. I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Just wondering, since it's unclear exactly why this happened, how confident should people be on a daily basis riding the system? How confident should they be in their safety?
The question is, how confident should people be in riding the system? Our job as the NTSB is to find out what caused this accident. We are not here to do a general safety audit, but having said that, I ride the train every day myself. Any further questions? One more question, please. Yes, please.
Have you interviewed any firefighters yet?
Question is, have we interviewed any firefighters yet? No, we have not.
Why not?
And the question is, why not? There are lots of reasons why not. They are cooperating with the investigation. It's not a lack of cooperation, but it's a question of scheduling some very, very busy people.
Let's take one more question answered.
Okay, one more question, please.
Members of Congress made reference to problems with radio encryption. The firefighters had encrypted radios. The Metro operators, they said, had not received the updates to the encryption. Is that correct? And were Metro radios normally updated on a regular basis to keep pace with the encryption of the DC radios?
And the question is about the encryption of the radios, and that is one of the issues that we will be looking at in the course of the investigation. Thank you very much for coming, and we will, henceforth, this will be the last. We are leaving our on-scene investigation, so this will be the last press conference, but we will henceforth be putting information on our website as we determine new facts. Thank you very much.
Live coverage on News Channel 8. You've been watching a news conference with the National Transportation Safety Board giving the latest details of last week's Metro smoke incident. One person was killed and dozens others were hospitalized. This news conference comes only 30 minutes after another live briefing from local lawmakers who are demanding answers. The major issues cover ventilation in Metro tunnels and cars, emergency response times, and communications. DC fire radios are encrypted, so other emergency personnel, including Metro, were not able to talk to first responders. The other matter being investigated by the NTSB is why there was electrical arcing on the track that caused the smoke in the first place. We'll continue to stay on top of this story and bring you live updates as we get more information here on News Channel 8.